The Courage Awards are a humbling opportunity to celebrate patients who have demonstrated remarkable bravery at the Glenrose Rehabilitation Hospital. This year's recipients have each had their own extraordinary yet challenging rehabilitation journeys. When you learn about them today, both from the global news segments I'm incredibly fortunate to work on and from the winners themselves, you'll hear their triumphs and their struggles. You'll also hear about the power of perseverance and how the Glenrose is here to support them. As the program progresses, we invite you to share your favorite moments on social media using the Twitter hashtag Courage Awards. We also welcome you to tag the Glenrose Rehabilitation Hospital Foundation. Now, before we meet our recipients, here is Kathy Hill, Senior Operating Officer of the Glenrose Rehabilitation Hospital, to share some remarks.
As the interim Senior Operating Officer for the Glenrose Rehabilitation Hospital and Glenrose Foundation Board of Trustees, I am honored to welcome you to the 2020 Courage Awards ceremony. As we learn to embrace a new normal, we look beyond our annual celebration of this event in the Dr. Bill Black Auditorium and bring you an incredible virtual event. I'm grateful for those who planned this event so each of us could safely connect and celebrate this year's extraordinary Courage Award recipients. As one of the largest rehabilitation hospitals in North America, there are nearly 80,000 patient visits to the Glenrose each year. Our hospital provides complex rehabilitative care to patients of all ages, with over 100 specialized inpatient and outpatient programs. It's also a teaching hospital where students come to learn from the best. And we are incredibly proud of our research team who ensures that innovation is at the forefront of what we do. Today, we are celebrating 3 Glenrose patients who demonstrated courage throughout their rehabilitation journeys. They faced challenges and pushed boundaries with strength, dedication, and positivity. Their stories are powerful examples of the human spirit, and I'm grateful we get the chance to honor them today. On behalf of the Glenrose Rehabilitation Hospital and Alberta Health Services, welcome. Thank you for joining us today, and a warm congratulations to the 2020 Courage Award recipients.
Thank you, Kathy. I know many of the frontline staff from the Glenrose and other hospitals or care centers are joining us today, and I'd like to offer our deepest gratitude for your dedication and courage during this challenging time. Now let's meet our 2020 Courage Award winners. Our first recipient is Ioan Sherbakov. Ioan is an incredible young man who completely captures your heart as soon as you meet him. Here's his story, followed by some words from Ioan and his dad on receiving this award. Ioan Sherbakov loves to make people laugh.
He loves being goofy. He loves joking. So if he can get one over on you, he will do it.
Many say Ioan is a miracle. In 2018, 2 days before Christmas, he was in a devastating highway crash. Ioan was airlifted to the Stollery Children's Hospital, where he fought for his life for 4 months.
Just laying there and he's not really moving, not breathing on his own, so it was very hard to look at, but yeah, I remember.
So he had to have surgery in the Stollery to remove a piece of his skull and take that bleeding out, and then that piece of his skull was put back on.
The entire left side of his brain was severely damaged, which affected the entire right side of his body. He couldn't walk, speak, or eat, and was transferred to the Glenrose Hospital for rehabilitation.
So he wasn't super responsive or even very alert to his environment at that point.
Black. Red. No, you're not red.
Therapists worked with Ioan to get his body moving and his mouth to start forming words again. Extremely frustrating for a 9-year-old.
And you could see him really want to interact with peers. On the unit, he was making friends, but he could not have those joking back and forth.
After a year of intense work at the Glenrose, Ioan was forced to move home early due to COVID-19 restrictions in March. Virtual sessions and his dad continued to help him progress.
Anybody can tell him what to do, but he's the one who has to push through, and he did. He pushed himself, and he got to where he's at, and he keeps pushing.
My name, Ioan.
Ioan can walk with a cane, eat on his own, communicate with his voice and his hands. He's going back to school.
He pretty much surpassed any kind of idea we might have had or prognosis we had, just given the severity of his injury.
He's amazing, amazing. Like truly, his determination inspires us all.
You remember this? Yeah.
His dad says his boy is stubborn in a good way, and he's nowhere near done.
Oh, he's what keeps me going.
We wanted to thank the Glenrose for everything they have done for us. They helped us move forward, helped him go as far as he did, and he's still going further. That whole unit and everybody there became family to us, still are. And without them, we don't know where we would be. This kid is amazing, so I'm so happy for this award for him. He has pushed through, everything that he has done, is doing. A lot of it is thanks to the Glenrose. We would not be where we are without them. Anything you want to say?
Thank you for this award. I love the Glenrose. I am doing much better.
Yeah, I don't know how to say thank you to them. There's no words.
Thank you and congratulations, Ian. Our second recipient this afternoon is Bill Maxim. Bill's care team at the Glenrose shared that he was a huge inspiration to other patients and he could often be heard encouraging others. Let's meet Bill and hear what this award means to him. Gardening is one of the many things Bill Maxim will never take for granted again. In March, he almost died after what he thought was a cold.
So I got some cough medicine, and then a couple of days later, I was in an ambulance.
Bill doesn't remember telling his wife he couldn't breathe. He vaguely recalls the intensive care unit being hooked up to a ventilator.
I had the COVID, I had pneumonia, and I had blood clots on all 5 lobes of my lungs, so I guess that's why they figured that I was really in bad shape.
There was always that chance he would never wake up, and that's the thing that scared us the most.
At 81 years old, Bill's chance of surviving COVID-19 was 20%, according to his doctors, and visitor restrictions at the time meant he'd be fighting alone. But 5 weeks later, he was well enough for rehab at the Glenrose Hospital.
I says, well, my goal is to get out of here as fast as I can, get this oxygen tank off my back, and get this walker out of here.
And up straight in front of you.
Bill's lungs were in rough shape. He could barely walk, and his hands were too weak to hold a fork.
Like his grip strength was a quarter of what I would have expected a man of his age and size to be.
Complicating things, he was the Glenrose's first COVID-19 patient.
Because everything was so new and we weren't sure and everything was changing every other day, there was a fear of when we were working with him, did we have to gown up?
But testing showed Bill was no longer infectious. His therapist's joke, only his laugh was contagious.
Oh, he is so lovely, so dedicated. He kind of kept me in line sometimes. He'd be like, Haley, I was there at 1 on the nose, where were you?
Bill says the staff and patients became his family when he couldn't see the real thing. Finally, in June, nearly 2.5 months after leaving his house in an ambulance, he was able to go home.
How did that feel, walking out of there?
Oh, great. Yeah, it felt great. But I really missed them.
His family had a t-shirt made, The Miracle Man. They have no idea where Bill got the coronavirus, but they hope his story can remind others to be safe.
I can't imagine being in his shoes, let alone having another family member go through what we went through. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to say I was quite surprised when I got the phone call from Doug advising me that I was going to receive this prestigious award from the Glenrose Hospital Foundation. And it's quite an honor to receive the Courage Award. I must say that when I arrived at the Glenrose after leaving the U of A hospital with my oxygen tank and my walker, first thing that Doug said to me when I met him at the hospital was, "What are your goals here at the Glenrose?" And I said, "Well, my first goal is to get out of here as quickly as possible. And the second one was to leave without my oxygen tank and without my walker." So being the first COVID patient at Glenrose, I think they devised a special program for me that assisted in my rapid recovery. So I think really I should share this award with the staff at the Glenrose in Ward D3 for the support and the help of Dr. Kammerer and Dr. Nasser, for the help of the nurses that worked with me for my stay, and with the therapists that really helped me, and that was Doug and Heather and Haley and Shelby and all the other therapists that assisted in my recovery. And so I want to thank the staff for helping me get rid of my walker and my oxygen tank. And again, I want to say thank you, and I'm really honored to receive this prestigious award. So thank you very much.
Thank you and congratulations again, Bill. Now, before we meet the third award recipient, I'd like to introduce the President and CEO of the Glenrose Rehabilitation Hospital Foundation, Mark Corthius.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark Corthius, and I am the President and CEO of the Glenrose Rehabilitation Hospital Foundation. It is a privilege to be here with you all today in the company of our courageous award winners, their families, and care teams. The COVID-19 pandemic has changed so much this year, and while I'm disappointed we can't be together in person, I'm thrilled we're able to come together virtually and celebrate these three recipients. At the Glenrose Foundation, we proudly fund the advancement of rehabilitative care so that patients and their families can have the best possible outcomes. Donor-funded innovation, programs, and research make life-changing differences to patients during rehabilitation. Thank you to the community of generous donors who support the Glenrose, Alberta's only hospital dedicated to rehabilitation. I'd also like to take a moment and thank the people who make this event possible. The Courage Awards Selection Committee is made up of former patients, previous recipients, and healthcare experts. This volunteer committee reviews all of the nominations and has the very difficult task of choosing the winners. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you also to Global Edmonton, who has proudly supported this event for many years, including filming and producing the individual segments that you see today. Additionally, I would like to thank Global Health reporter Su-Ling Goh, who has served as the Courage Awards MC for the past 13 years. Last year, Su-Ling was recognized with the first ever Glenrose Impact Award for her role in sharing stories of the Glenrose and helping to bring attention to the value of rehabilitative care. Thank you, Su-Ling. And thank you to all the Glenrose staff who take the time to nominate their remarkable patients. Finally, there is a special family I'd like to thank, the Ferries. Gino Ferry and his family have sponsored this event for many years, and we are so grateful for their continued support of the Courage Awards. Their commitment to these awards is an amazing example of how instrumental our donors are in transforming lives. Thank you all for being here today, and congratulations, Ioan, Bill, and Herman.
Thank you, Mark. Our final recipient of a 2020 Courage Award is Herman Koo. Herman's is an unbelievable story, and it's fantastic to see how well he's doing now. Here is Herman's journey and a message from him on his award.
The K9 guys, yeah, I just lost a tire.
In March of 2018, a violent crime spree in Edmonton ended with a high-speed chase and the random shooting of an innocent person. Herman Koo was shot in the head while he was driving home. His parents woke up to two police officers at the door.
He said my son is in the hospital. They don't think he's going to make it. I actually cried on the police shoulder, and they said it was okay.
The bullet had fragmented in Herman's brain, too dangerous to remove. Doctors told his family to prepare for the worst.
They were going to give up. But then, I guess for some God's help, and he made it. He made it through, I guess.
You got it, Herman.
2 years later, this 40-year-old is doing everything no one expected him to do: walking, eating, and talking.
I speak clear as possible.
This injury impacted basically everything to do with speech and swallowing.
Herman says the hardest part of rehabilitation at the Glenrose Hospital was learning to speak, coordinating his mouth muscles, and coming up with words.
Lobster.
Lobster.
Perfect. Nice and crisp.
His brain also had to remember basic skills like counting money. He had no idea how to use a calculator. The therapy team noticed Herman inspiring others to work harder.
Other patients came to know his story, and they would sometimes remark to me that they were just, quite impressed with how well he was doing, considering how grievous of an injury he had.
Just that grin. Like, he was always smiling, just cruising along, doing whatever. I think that having someone like that on the unit just helps everyone.
Herman explains he doesn't focus on the past, only the future. His dream is to go back to work as a pipeline control room operator, but he has met one big goal.
I drive now.
How's that?
Oh man, it's the greatest thing ever. And I don't speed.
No matter where the road leads, his dad will be by his side.
I think he's very optimistic. Sometimes I feel, maybe you should think twice, but he's just, okay, that's what happened.
I get up with that smile every day, no matter the day, thinking it's okay to be me.
First off, I'd like to thank the Glenrose Rehabilitation Hospital for helping me survive this accident. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I got shot in the head, causing my abilities to work, talk, and perform basic living duties. For helping me talk when I was discharged from my ICU and active care units at the Royal Alexandria Hospital because I wasn't able to talk, helping me walk again because I was in a wheelchair for about 6 weeks, helping me perform basic living duties. I started out at the Glenrose Rehabilitation Hospital for about 5 months, and I went to Pernodka, Alberta, to the Harvard Johnson Center for brain injury. I stayed there for about 9 months, and I became an outpatient at the Glenrose Rehabilitation Hospital up until now. I like to thank the Glenrose Rehabilitation Hospital, the Harvard Johnson Center for Brain Injury, the Royal Alexandria Hospital, and the Corbett Clinics, the University of Alberta, the March of Dimes of Canada, and all their staff who helped me along the way at each hospitals or units where I stayed. Thank you. You don't know what this means to me. It means the world to me. Last of all, I'd like to say thanks to my parents, my brothers, uncles, aunts, cousins, and nephews, and all of my friends who unrelentlessly supported me and my family. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Thank you, Herman, and a huge congratulations to all 3 of this year's winners.